Yeah. It was originally a scheduling conflict, but it is no longer.
So I anticipate we should be wrapped up close to 9. Okay.
You know what? You guys only have a half hour. Should I come back another day? I don't want to take up time if you're.
I mean,
I'm very limited agenda.
can we go back to this? So we can't discuss an item that has action required?
Correct, because you could have discussions that could lead somebody to vote different than they may have just seeing materials in the packet. And so they need to be here and be a part of that discussion.
Okay.
Could we save the discussion portion and just allow them, because the discussion.
Well,
Both of these events before.
yeah, the presentation could also help somebody determine their vote.
Could we play it back?
Abby, Julie, I don't think that we'll have time to incorporate your presentation into our half hour of ability to take action required. I do think that we will be able to get to those items, though I'm probably going to prioritize like being able to hire a service provider, electing our executive committee, and the beautification grant review. So it is up to you if you stick around for that. I mean, those are really the 3, and because we go through previous meeting minutes and current financials, very quickly, but I think that those 3 items would probably fill our half an hour and not allow you time to present. Hopefully we'll have time to consider them. I also feel like we've worked with both of your organizations many times, so I don't know if we'll have much discussion that like we need answers from you.
Well, our new board members who would be.
It would be
need a
new
little
to
more
them.
Information are not here available. So, but.
Yeah.
change. Yeah.
So,
And this isn't something that when we are in session, we can empower to the executive committee to decide. So that we don't have.
oh wait, definitely is.
Holding ourselves up more than necessary.
And the executive committee did make recommendations already on these 2 that they would tell you today. So.
Yeah. And the next time we meet is the last week of March. Yeah. I can tell you the calendar's in here. Right.
You guys voted for exec to do sponsorship without the full board?
No, yeah.
Okay, I was just making clear it wasn't something you had done before and we were gonna wait on this.
Well, currently, the executive committee has been authorized as of our last meeting to spend within our budget as necessary, which does include sponsorship.
Yes, next meeting is, it's actually
Next full board.
next full board is April 3rd,
Correct, yeah.
And executive committee is the week before that.
the 25th, yep.
But would we, call another meeting of the executive committee to do these sponsorship requests? And, Julie, I don't know if your sponsorship has like a deadline to get on, well, and I guess we can't discuss it, so never mind.
Well, just as a, from executive position, I'd be willing to form a meeting together to complete some of this.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
I guess one thing we can talk about and throw out there in the exec board, we didn't talk about the possibility of we need some potential capital improvement projects. So if anybody has any ideas on capital projects we could work on in the district, we can throw it out there.
And
We had one idea come forward to discuss some improvements to like the Half Moon Beach area or something to draw that or improve that area a little bit. With one thrown out there, but for open day. Any ideas anybody has in the district?
There'd be a place for murals down there?
Well, we've got down there that, yeah, and we've got one of the beautification projects is something, a mural going that way, not at the Half Moon Beach itself, but that's, that have to be discussed with, of course, the city and actually city buildings, but that would be a possibility.
Okay, if we can help with color blocks, we'd be glad to.
Okay. That's,
So this is in relation to number 13, which is just the discussion item.
Okay.
And Phoenix Park Electrical Service is something that we contemplated last year. I made progress with a conversation of, oh, come on, he's got the coolest name. Who's the Parks and Recs guy? Yeah,
Plaza.
Steve Plaza. Isn't that fitting for a guy for Parks and Recs? So Steve Plaza was aware of our project and he said that he is still supportive of it. And that as soon as we start planning, just bring him along and, you know, that we have preliminary support for installing additional bollards, electrical bollards. I always think of it as like near the high five dog sculpture. And that would be to support events that happen in Phoenix Park. That is technically not in our bid, but we've, you know, kind of cared for that area as though it is.
the line's right there.
Yeah.
Sunburst is not doing it, so.
Like, they're not
That's-
probably gonna take that on.
If you recall, last year we were going to move forward with this, but concrete work was not included in NEI's estimate. And they did not provide us an estimate that, you know, included concrete work as a subcontract. So the next steps would be going out for RFP process and trying to get bids that included concrete work in that installation process. And we do anticipate it would be over $30,000. That's why we would use the RFP process. So we have, I want to say 75, but I do have our budget up here. So even if we wanted to move forward that, it's not a other projects or that, it could be an and that is 60,000. Or we could prioritize different projects and not go out for it. Even if we went out for RFP just to get pricing information, that would not obligate us to move forward with that project. I would not like to go out for RFP for that project if that project is no longer like of interest. Because I mean, we don't have to move forward with it, but I'd like to at least not move forward with it if we know it's a no. Move forward with the RFP process. So then speakers have been kind of brought up as a logical next step for our bid. And also what could we do to make Half Moon Park a more of an asset to our district and downtown and community. So out of those projects, I guess we're looking for kind of like which ones to get more information on or other ideas.
If anybody has any other ideas, let us know. Make a list.
But it'd be nice to, at our April meeting, come back with more information.
For the Half Moon Lake project, that's like one area of your bid I'm very unfamiliar with, kind of like where it ends up. What are you guys considering thinking about so that if in April we are looking for information on this, I know what to go searching for.
It depends a little bit on the city. Just recently showed some interest in that they want to do some work there as well, so we kind of coordinate whatever they're thinking. Who? I don't know, I guess it's just,
Wayfinding or actual like physical improvements to the swim area or?
The first time we tried to support it, it was going to be by purchasing the beetle that ended up on the university's property. And I guess any ways to activate it or clean it up, but that would probably be more infrastructure cleanup. Like if we were to support a new bathroom building, much like we, donated $100,000 to the fourth floor of the parking ramp. Fourth floor of the parking ramp cost over, was it like $2 million? So our $100,000, is a fraction of the cost.
It's more of a statement than a financial.
So those types of things we've tried in the past. Yeah,
I think wayfinding would, like, on North Barstow Street would be helpful. So my shop is in North Barstow, and I get people in all the time who are like looking for Phoenix Park or looking for the farmer's market. And in my mind, I'm always like, well, you can live right there. But people don't know. And so I also get a lot of questions about where the tube fill-up area is. So and I also will say that, like, in the summer, when you see tons of people going to Halfmoon Lake, and so I think it's definitely not like you're not going to find it on your own. It's the kind of place that it's easy to find with like the Google app. But I think finding around that would be great.
Becky would have interest in wayfinding projects as well, as part of our mission and one of the things that WEDC likes to see projects happen with, so.
Fill out the kiosk with, having sort of software
Yeah.
from an app that works with that,
I'm sure it is capable of so many things.
It's-
And we're gonna talk to you,
It's
but so, like,
It's what it's working up. I was down there Monday evening, resetting some things on it. It does have, I mean, anything you select there, and I guess I haven't specifically looked to see if it has anything in the database about Half Moon. But if you select something that does map it and give you directions and everything on there, I will have to look and see what it. And that's something in the future that's gonna have to be dealt with. Right now, the data that's on there is pulling from Visit Eau Claire's database, and obviously there's some changes going on with them too. Yeah, well, and that's the thing, is where we kind of go from here. We have to look out, but it does have those abilities in it. I'll have to double check and see if there's anything specifically about like that. There's, because it has, when you go under, it has, like restaurants, there's selections that you work into, and I'll just don't know if there's a category specifically, if that would be, and I'll take a look.
I feel like I'd have to go spend some time at Half Moon Beach to come up with ideas as well.
Yeah,
Like the most
but I think it's,
time I've spent there was like dragon boat races, Eau
Yeah.
Claire triathlon. And those haven't happened in a while.
no, and I think that's, the overall, it's gonna have to be either, if the city has interest, there's gonna have to be quite a few things, because it's, the building's looking pretty shoddy, that needs to get dressed up. They're talking about bringing in vendors possibly and things like that. And do you do structural, do you have the food trucks come in? How do you set that up? I don't know what the city's real interest is. I think over there, specifically some close in wayfinding would be great, because it is a little, if you're not familiar, navigating through Mayo's parking lots and trying to get there is
yeah,
not, it's kind of counterintuitive.
Agreed.
So I think there's kind of a whole picture there that's gotta be, but we gotta know what the city's real interest in potential investment would be.
Like Lakeville's doing the remodel, kind of revamp of their space probably within the last couple of years. That really turned out.
Redid there's a bigger plan on it, too. They redid the parking lot area, reworked all that, so
Yeah,
the parking's easier to navigate. Brighten up open up the green space a little bit, so all these little trees, and there is a grander plan there eventually for, some new pavilion space and some new functional, areas like that the county has.
Yeah,
Several times committed and then retracted the funding for it.
sure.
I work with the, Elgin Lake District, Fairmont on some of that stuff, so there is additional plans there, but it did brighten things up. They put in lighting in the parking lot, they did clear all of it, make more open space. And that's one thing over there too, is I'm trying to picture Half Moon. It's been, there again, been some time since I've been to down there and really walked around it, but it's, you know, having more, I don't know if it'd be more green areas or somewhere with picnic type spaces where you can sit might be something interesting, potentially pavilions or, yeah.
Like, as far as tables and.
Yeah.
And shade.
It's very brown, just saying.
It's a beach.
Yeah, but yeah, if you're gonna draw people in with vendors or whatever like that, that's gonna have to be a bigger picture.
Oh, that would be cool.
There used to be playground.
Awesome, yeah.
Billy, is this a Steve Plaza kind of question too, of like, where are you guys at in plans? What would be helpful?
Yeah, I think it's relatively new. It might be something good just to create a small group, meet with Stephanie, Dave, Lane, and just say, hey, what are you guys thinking? What might we be able to work on together? Let's start formulating a plan of what you want to see, what we want to see, and how we achieve that together.
Who's Lane?
Oh, he's the community services director. And it would make sense to have Steve come in too, but I think it's still really high level conversations of, do we want to do something? You know, like Stephanie mentioned in that meeting, we all think it'd be cool to have a restaurant there. But that's, you know, big thinking, years of planning, you know, but what can happen now? What does everybody want to see? And so I think starting at more high level to kind of get, here's some basics that we want to see, and then we can start figuring out what that looks like, and then bring a plan back of, here's what we want to do. So, and if you want to, I can get that set up.
And once I get.
Yeah.
Yes.
I,
It is.
This one
It
is.
is.
It is, but volume one is, turns out it's not. Volume one isn't, turns out, go figure. But no, and so I guess in kind of looking at it from that perspective too, I know, you know, it's not necessarily something that's gonna be a large capital project for us in this year likely, but maybe some of the smaller, there again, we could commit to working on some wayfinding as the city comes in, something simple like that for now that we can go off with Decky in the city and maybe start there.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other big.
Yeah.
Yeah, where that's
I don't
gonna.
know how when. I don't know, when,
Good.
yeah, I didn't go to the, like,
Us too.
Aaron White has been talking about that for.
I think is there another meeting coming up at the library?
Yeah,
I think there's
I know
another.
this could be like 2023, and then it got delayed.
We did just get.
That better.
Did I
Is it 2027?
I don't think so. I'll see if I can find it because.
I thought there was a meeting at the library coming up.
I thought so too, with like designs and
Yeah,
stuff, and
We
yeah,
already had it. Oh, I thought it was coming
Okay.
up in the next week or two here, but maybe.
it was
Was it
real
recent?
recent.
It was on the same day of the discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on the same day as the mix and mingle. So that's.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know I got a notification of something, but it wasn't, yeah.
All right, well, as long as we're talking about those projects, let's just touch on kiosk update. It is working. I would say our kind of next question with the kiosk is at what, like, how long will it work with getting data from Visit Eau Claire now that Becky's website has changed? So Erin and I kind of have that on her. She's been, you know, swamped with our beautification grant process, but that's a next focus for us. It's making sure that that technology isn't the next thing to fall through.
Well, we're kind of, the way it's running right now, we're kind of at the mercy of what happens there. So if Visit Eau Claire and all their changes decide that the system they're using is gonna go away, we're kind of cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, I don't know if they're talking about that, but I know they're making some changes to their stuff as well, so.
And we're in year 3 of a 3-year contract with Opna. And we do have 15 service hours per year. So I think, you know, as long as it's working, like we're kind of good for the year, but there will be future planning coming up soon.
I have been
First
keeping,
year of work.
yeah, in keeping an eye on it, I have seen people at it. I did go down, well, Monday when I was down there resetting, I shoveled the snow away. The city doesn't get up close, so I went and shoveled all that so you could actually get up to it. There was no footprints in the fresh snow, but it was pretty cold. But there have, at different times, I have seen people taking advantage of it, so.
Well, thank you for shoveling the snow, Jason. Okay, and then touch base on planter tree grate maintenance. I don't have an update for you. Given myself till that's an April discussion. We'll get bids from multiple people to make sure that we still weed our tree grates. And then the other priority is maintaining the 8 pots that we now own. Any other kind of, and, oh, sorry, there's one more aspect. The kiosk garden, basically just pulling the big weeds. It's supposed to be natives, so, you know, it's not a super highly tended area. It's just get out the big ones.
The other one I had a question on is our banners. I know some of those are getting pretty bad shape. I don't know what, we cooperate with South Barstow on some of that.
Yeah, so I removed the one that was like dangling in the wind over here, but there's a few more that need to be replaced. At the time that needed to be replaced for it was when payment procurement process started, so we didn't really do anything. But you guys do have, Thomas Lee Lighting has all of the banners, and you guys have probably enough banners to replace everything in the district with the same thing you have. There's quite a few. And your banners do go all the way down. I don't know if you know, but yeah, over by, what's the name of that business? Not Superior Auto. Farthest one down.
Well, and we even have a couple on Fifth Street.
Yeah, yeah. But South Barstow has done banner programs, so they now have, they kind of annually take on a new design. So they have the summer, spring banners. They have their winter banners. And then they're no longer, they're not in love with the baby blue logo ones anymore. Those are probably never going back up. But we've been working with Thomas Lee, so they just, it looked really nice. They just keep them. And now they'll be putting up your banners in a few weeks. No, Jazz Fest first, then Marathon.
Do we have, I know 2 of them I saw looked like there was possibly some of the hardware was damaged. Do we have any extra hardware right now?
Yep, and I grabbed, because one of the brackets had fallen into the street, so I have that. Yes, we have a decent amount of extra ones. So, so yeah, you guys, and I helped with the design on those. So if you're interested in new banners, I have no problem designing some stuff with your feedback.
Yes.
New banners you have already.
So are they set to a time frame to swap them out then?
Yeah, so Jazz Fest will go up first, and when they do the Jazz Fest ones, I think they also put up the summer, spring banners. So that will be coming up at the end of March.
Are you and I talked about a while ago, just replacing ones. Is that still happening?
So we pulled them down, but we haven't gotten them put back up. So you guys could have Thomas Lee go out for 3 banners. We have about 3 that really need to be replaced.
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna do it when he did winter stuff. It just didn't happen. Alongside South Barstow, because it would make sense so that you're not calling them out for 3
Okay.
to either plan, and we can remove them. Putting them up is really difficult.
Yeah.
So we could remove all the tattered ones and then have him do it. It would be nice to time it out with South Barstow, so you'd be saving money.
Who's that?
Thomas Lee, Sean Malone from Thomas Lee Lighting. But you guys could use any vendor you want, obviously.
There's a contract. That's what I was gonna say is, wasn't the city at one time doing some of that maintenance?
Well,
And
Pablo-
we wanna double down.
Yeah, Pablo, South Barstow made updated their bylaws to include that they could have up to 2 nonprofit seats on their board, but they wanted in return, because they don't actually pay the taxes to the bid, some sort of in-kind service. So Pablo had made an agreement contract with South Barstow to take on banners, but it never happened, and it's not gonna happen. So the board at that point just decided to hire Thomas Lee, Jay Signs. I mean, there's other sign companies that can do the work, obviously, but he does currently store all of it, so that basically he was coming down to Banbury to pick up the banners to then go. So we just, as he takes them down, he's just storing them for us.
Well, and Sean, he's done, previously he did light installs for some Phoenix Park and that as well. So he's been
And he does all of the, he doesn't do the tree lighting, but he does the winter decoration, in the South Barstow district as well. And then he puts up the Haymarket.
Yeah, I'm not questioning that, I'm just.
Oh, yeah, like services.
We're always putting banners, swapping them out more often, we're gonna have, and that's.
Right, and so it's, it depends how many banners you guys have. I obviously have the information from South Barstow because I was the chair, and so I know how many we have. I'd have to get a count for you, especially because, like I said, I just learned that there was some way up. Yeah, if you guys like, that's the other thing, you know? Right, and so Jazz and Marathon have, do you know how many banners it is? 20 something, so they get kind of sporadically placed. But the designs exist, if you guys like what, I thought the same thing, just like a continuation into, you know, the same banners throughout the bit. The spring summer banners for South Barstow have, there are 4 designs that are very similar that kind of alternate to give like a different feel, but they're all cohesive. So, we got the printing from South Barstow done through, oh, I don't know off the top of my head. Yeah, but approximately $45 a banner or so, unless prices have drastically increased since the last order. And then to put up banners, in South Barstow, it's usually about a $600 like up and turnover fee. So, and that's about 40 to 60 banners on the switches, whenever that is. And then I think the time frame is March, April, and then November.
So we budgeted $1,000 for banner replacement for this year because we knew that we upped it from $200 from the previous year because we knew that there was significant wear and tear on our aging banners. So what I'm hearing as possible next steps is, assuming that we have an approved service provider, we could work with that service provider to, first of all, fix what's out there now. We have, you know, extra banners. They're tattered and banners, like get them in good working order. And then also come back to the board at some point with an estimate for and design for new banners. And then the board could choose to move forward with that and could even spend out of capital improvements and then use the rest of the banner, what did I say, replacement funds to swap them out. Like if it was a 600, 500, because we have fewer swap out, that we could spend our $1,000 that way. And, you know, if we got new banners, we'd probably come from somewhere else. Does that sound like a reasonable plan for banners?
Yeah, I think if you're gonna have them, you're gonna have somebody that's taking care of
Yeah.
swamp. Nobody takes care of it. That's the opposite.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. I want to go back to, well, I just mentioned it. So service provider temporary contract. We signed a approximately $3,000, $300 dollar contract with Zeki for services for January, February. I believe that contract was in the packet. Yeah. So just that's a informational. It was the executive committee was authorized to do it. I'm like, I think I'm talking to Crystal. The rest of us voted on this.
So if I clarify, the bids and the quotes in the packet, the agreement still being drawn up to be signed by the city, and just to clarify.
So
You surprised me. I was like, wait, what?
You approved it.
Yeah.
Right, you approved
Yeah.
the quote. Yeah.
The final contract.
So that was item number 7. Any question, or number 6, any questions on that action that was taken as authorized by the executive committee? then let's talk about the bid operating plan because, and jump in at any time if I misspeak. Everybody is recognizing, all bids, all city, all council are recognizing that it is time to update our operating plan. Ours is 25 years old and it has been, I would say, auto-approved for the last 20 years, each year when we submit a new budget for the next year. And that's basically our plan for the next year of what we're gonna spend. As mentioned in the city council work session summary, I believe that there are rights that could be given to the bid through the operating plan that would make our operations better. But that list of kind of requests or amendments or changes or additions to our operating plan is in your packet. And I want to hear from the board if you also agree that those are important as I go to represent this board in any crafting of an operating plan, or is there anything that's missing? So I wrote that list based on my personal experience and what I've heard in this board, but I just want to make sure that as the person that will be working on that and then bringing it back to this board, obviously for approval, I want to make sure that I'm working towards something that you guys want to approve.
And if I can add, so there's been many different things coming from the different bids on how to proceed, go forward. So my understanding, the last thought is Dave is on vacation right now, but the plan is in February to meet with the bid board chairs and start developing an overall bid, kind of a generic that fits all bids, starting point. And legal's looking at stuff that's been submitted and prior plans to kind of start putting together a template. So we don't sit down and we're like, okay, what do we write first? So, and then we'll go through that. And then when we're done with that, go back to each bid board and be like, okay, what do we need to do that's specific to your bid? So a general bid, and then, so that's like maybe 2, 3, 4 pages, and then if even that, and then 1, 2 pages that's specific to the bid. So that's last I knew where the plan with this was. And when Dave gets back, I believe the plan is that we'll start scheduling the meetings with the chairs. And they'll still be open meetings. It won't be that nobody else can attend or anything, but I think, like Julia said, here's the list. Is this what you guys are okay with for me to start working on this? Because in case you're not there or anything and you do have some input to start the overall bid one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, as we've talked about a bit before, the job plan is always, specifically meant to be very general. So these are pretty broad operations, but like in here, at the time we were basing a lot of it around, we had done a Hyatt Palma study for a company that did it in downtown Eau Claire and based a lot of it on that. Of course, now we're beyond that and gone actually to, well, since then we've created the comprehensive plans in Wisconsin, which there again, we got to base a little bit more around that than Hyatt Palma, which kind of morphed into that, but yeah, just the basics are just outdated.
There's also consideration of maybe doing away with our bylaws, incorporating the important parts into the operating plan and only having one document, and not saying that that is what's going to happen. Yay, I feel so some people are questioning why we have 2 documents, especially if some people didn't know we have 2 documents. So, do you have to follow the bylaws if they didn't know they existed? Well, we voted on them and we're told them that we should have them. So that's up for consideration too. We were just finishing a bid operating plan discussion. But I think we'll call the meeting to order at 8:22. Thank you guys all so much for being here. We have a calendar in our update or in our packet so we can have, kind of more planning and a better chance of having a quorum in the future. But we will launch straight into just reviewing and approving those previous meeting minutes from our meeting in December.
Second.
Any further discussion, I'll indicate by saying aye. Sorry, that was Crystal.
Got it.
We also have current financials are in your packet. The verbal on this is that Rebecca did a lot of work to look into our balance of our reserve as of the beginning of this year. Can you remind me what you told me?
Yeah, it's approximately 175,000.
And from memory, we were at about 150 last year, which
Yep.
makes sense because we spent slightly less than what we collected in 2024. This is a new format for our financials. Hopefully it is an improvement on being able to see what money actually went out by looking at the numbers in parentheses. And this is what we can expect going forward. Any feedback is welcome. Thank you. That was Crystal. Further discussion. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. That motion passes and we will move on to service provider RFP. Now you have the RFP in your packet and the submission was emailed to you yesterday.
Mhm.
So we went out for RFP. There was one submission. Originally, we were going to have a selection committee that's been canceled. So this board could authorize to move forward with that, with Decky, who submitted the application for the RFP. And then the next steps would be working with the city to create a contract that would be signed by Decky and the city for the purpose of providing the services as indicated in both of those documents. One thing you'll notice, we kept the capital improvement projects out of the RFP. So all of that, like if we approve this application, Aaron and I would still work on coming up with those projects, but it would be like through the city process of those getting paid, if that makes sense. Otherwise, the RFP is set up so that the service provider is actually paying for our garbage and then getting reimbursed. There's a lot of information in there.
It's the only thing to know change is that we've been recently told now that we can't put it out as a multi-year term. So we would be looking at a vote renewal annually on this. Is that how we?
I don't know that you have to vote to renew annually. So it'll be a 1-year contract because you guys only do budgets for 1 year, but there'll be verbiage in it saying that, upon mutual agreement or nobody terminates within X amount of days and budget appropriation, that it will extend. And you can leave that open, or you could say we'll extend for 3 year, a year, each year based on this criteria for 3 years or indefinitely. So it does make it a multi-year contract, but it has to be contingent on budget approval. Because if you guys,
So it wouldn't have to be direct, we wouldn't have to take a direct vote annually, it would auto renew as long as we budget it in that current budget year.
correct. So let's say you get 10 new members and they're like, nope, we're not going to budget money for this. Well, then the contract can't be fulfilled. So that's why the language has to be that way.
Dollar amount changes. So it's dollar-
They can,
Changes from year to year, you can still just continue that, you won't have to.
yeah. So, and you know, typically there would be things like, the budget, usually a bid will say, here's the amount for 3 years or whatever, but with that, it could be, 5% increase each year or, something like that. So as we work through it with Decky, we'll get all that down and, take it to Julia for, or the exec board, for final review of the agreement. So.
I mean, if I would, my recommendation would be to approve this RFP and authorize me to work with the city on the contract so that we could get this in place for March, because our temporary contract covered January and February. And I would like to keep receiving the support that Decky has been providing in January and so far this month.
I have one question.
Yeah.
On here, all right, talks about create and maintain website. So I had a business owner reach out to me because they were interested in advertising their business on, there used to be like a website for like big boards that could show like all the different restaurants and things. So who maintains that now? Or is it being maintained?
There is a business directory through Visit Eau Claire.
Right.
And it used to be the Decky website. I don't know what the plans are for business directory in the future on the Decky website.
So just to give you a little history, so a couple of years ago, about 3 years ago, Decky turned over basically all of their marketing budget, $30,000 and $35,000 to Visit Eau Claire to basically take that on. So in the process, Decky lost an identity, but it was all under Visit Eau Claire, and certainly you can provide them information for them to do it. Kind of the problem was the bid information was housed under the Decky site, but then when you went to go to bid businesses, it really just brought you to their general business directory. Same for Decky members, they look at Decky members, but it's just like any business that was listed there. We just recently stopped that arrangement last year and are working on building our own website. So Decky has its own page. The first thing that we were focusing on is kind of business resources outward facing, like what Decky does for you guys as a member. We do have Water Street and North Barstow up there now. We're working on getting South and West on there. We can put whatever information you guys want on there. So currently North Barstow has really just your contact information for the bid, for questions, what that is, the map, and then it has your beautification grant information on there and your sponsorship information. So any information can be built in there. That being said, we are also working with Visit Eau Claire. So we're not recreating exactly what they have. Currently there is a member directory for Decky member businesses, and each business that's there gets their like bid logo on it. The goal would be eventually to connect. We're working with Visit Eau Claire and just had a meeting with them yesterday about this, but being able to connect kind of like a virtual map to those businesses when you click on them, like to show you in real time where you are and then walk. We certainly can do the same thing for bid businesses. It's searchable that way. It's just you have to be a Decky member at this point. That's the only information we built into the navigation. So it's going to take some time. But if that's something the bids want to see independently within their own page as a list of the businesses, we can do that. Well, it has been for.
It's a transition to go with that.
Yeah, but yes.
There's definitely people
I just want to get this started.
have interest that don't have their businesses shown. There's people that want to be more involved. So when I ask the question, how do I get my business listed on a website to be represented by the bid board? What do I tell them at this point?
Well, I will. So we just got a little flyer from Visit Eau Claire with the QR code, and there is a way to easily get my businesses on their database. And that's important because they share their information with us and Volume One. So it's all connected. So I'll get you guys that information to the full bid, and then you can share to your neighbors. That's very simple. Because then when they have that, we can get their spreadsheet. Otherwise, certainly reaching out to us directly to get them on there. Did go through kind of a database by bid, and that's why yours got done first. Ours is just way too big. There's no real good way to update as businesses turn over unless we're working with the realtors maybe on that. And so we're still kind of developing it. But directly to me, And certainly this Visit Eau Claire QR code they just gave us, that I'll pass along to you. And with Visit Eau Claire, you can curate what is seen on there as well. So you get a write-up, your own write-up, you can put your own picture, and you can change it up as much as you want.
Tried to include all the things in the RFP, but I also did have like a, and some things that will come up, but if those things that come up are more than 10% of kind of what was documented, then it's Decky's responsibility to tell us, hey, this is outside of the scope of our contract. It would cost you this amount to, throw you a specific event that you're asking me to do.
Were you looking for a motion?
I am.
Yeah. I was trying to bring my brain back. So I would motion to approve that we have Julia representing our bid in conversations with the city to further the RFP.
And to move forward with the submission presented.
And to move forward with the submission that is presented to us.
Any further discussion on that motion? Then all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Then that motion passes. On to the bid board executive committee election. So I sent out an email asking for anyone that has interest to indicate to me or to speak up during this meeting, anyone in this room. So far, Jason Munns, Jason Mans, and Tim O'Brien have volunteered to serve on the executive committee. Would anyone else like to add their name to be considered for the executive committee? Then we could vote to approve that slate of candidates for the executive committee.
Also,
Blaine, you should or Joe, you should second it.
I'll second.
Everybody else is like,
Any other further discussion? We don't have anything in our bylaws that say you can't vote for yourself. So there's no reason to abstain.
Technically, we're voting for a slate, so it's not just
Yeah.
for ourselves.
Yeah. Okay, further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And I should maybe mention that I am automatically on the executive committee by default, so that's not included in the vote. Okay, thank you very much. We are on to beautification grant application review. There is a very helpful spreadsheet in your packet that indicates outlines the 4 submissions for the beautification grant. We have budgeted $20,000 for beautification grants this year. 25,750 is the total of the requested funds. The executive committee reviewed these grants and worked with Erin to get clarification and additional materials to make sure that all of these grants meet our grant criteria. The executive committee did not have a specific recommendation for the board to approve. We've kind of, this is our 3rd year doing this. Even the executive committee gets together and says, so are we supposed to, come up with a proposal or bringing it to the full board with the information that I just presented you? Hopefully you've had time to review the supporting materials and the Excel doc that kind of outline the application information for each grant. I'll just throw out there that seeing that last year we spent, I still look at $5,000 that hasn't been paid out will be paid out for last year. So last year we spent $15,000 less than we collected, which was not intentional. Seeing that, I think all of these grants applications meet the intent of our beautification grant. I would suggest that we could spend into our reserves, knowing that we don't have, say all of our capital improvement dollars allocated to a project. If we spent, $25,750 instead of $20,000, I think that our budget has flexibility built into it to allow that. But that's just my own perspective.
Do you know where Leona's is in completion?
I'm going to defer to Erin.
Yeah, so they had some delays. Obviously, we just actually got them a check in January for the first part of it. They're doing a mural on their outdoor patio. So as soon as weather permits, that will be happening. We do have an artist hired, they have a design ready, very similar to what was shown to you initially. And so as soon as they can get out there, they'll have it done.
Are they operating at this?
So they have their soft opening. They're on kind of a invite list only as they kind of work out the kinks, but they had their very first opening on February 1st. And they're excited to be public. So in a couple weeks, everyone will be able to enjoy.
And I'll just remind the board that Leona's was awarded $10,000. They requested $5,000 to get the project started. We agreed to that in approximately October. I could be wrong. And then, it didn't get paid to them until just recently. So we're, I feel like it's a multitude of factors of, they said they would do this work and we said they would get the money. And I believe that it is still going to happen, and that after the project is done, it will meet our criteria and we will award the final $5,000 to their project.
I've gotten actually some negative feedback about the front of that building being painted by people.
Was it from John?
Just the people, business owners around there. So just a heads up, not everyone thinks that looks the best.
So that wasn't the part of the beautification grant. Theirs is for the patio area and a mural on the wall of the patio. So that, I know it's mint green. When you get inside, it makes sense. It's like supposed to be that, vintage vibe, and it is when you get in there. But I've heard the same thing. But that was not what the money was used for, just so you know. And the mural will have a sign that says that was sponsored by Northwest with it.
I just got one question. Because LD Phillips, do they pay bid board fees?
Are they a nonprofit?
Yes, it's not.
So no.
So technically that is not a criteria of the, you have to be within the bid boundaries, but it doesn't say that you have to pay bid fees. It's certainly something that we could consider adding to our criteria for next year. But I also think that it will benefit the visuals of our bid board for that business to, replace the kind of, I don't know, cemetery style greens with some hydrangeas and get rid of the plastic chairs.
I think it does go back to an interesting conversation that we're having in our executive board meeting. It's slightly different than the conversation around one of the calls was kind of, are we paying someone to create a job for themselves and then they can have multiple murals that they put up and then kind of paying themselves to do murals? It is an interesting question, I think, steady part of the book, because it kind of brings me back to the Pablo in the south of Barstow, being a nonprofit, and what are they kind of bringing? So like with Elliott Phillips Senior Center, are we giving grant money to non-bid members?
They are a business, a nonprofit business within the boundaries of our bid.
But they don't pay into our bids, or are they even therefore a member of our bid?
yeah, they're in your boundaries. Every business that.
But every business such as with
My
is
guess the same space as yours is that
augmented.
I don't think it would be a terrible idea. Well, I think it would be a worthy discussion, I would say, to consider. Have consideration for those businesses that are paying tax that funds it.
They actually had a tremendous week this week too.
Was that?
That week.
Oh,
They got a nice little $2.5 million bequeathment this week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that we can't.
No,
If we have money, right?
No.
But I, kind of in your shoes where it's like, well, whose money was it saving money?
I think there's another issue too about like if you're a tenant, you're not actually, if you're a tenant and it's the landlord and you put a mural on there, for example, the next tenant may be very likely to paint right over that, it doesn't match their jam, whatever they're gonna be doing next time. So it gets wider pretty quickly because most, I would say, of the small, I don't know if this is true, but I'm assuming many of the small businesses don't own their building.
And we don't have any stipulation on longevity of the improvement. We do stipulate that it is that, you know, whether it be the property owner, that there is a maintenance plan for it.
Yeah.
Um,
And we spend much of our money.
yeah,
He works on the kiosk and that's not a nonprofit zone in the bid. Just being an advocate of that conversation.
and there is a possibility, especially of the $10,000 request for public, property to receive a mural, that further down the process, it doesn't get approved because of our maintenance requirements, or, you know what, I think that there is a chance that not all of these will, you know, come to fruition.
Have we ever been to the agreement that it has to remain for a certain amount of time?
We have not.
Like if the city decided it didn't want a mural there next week?
Well, they have to get, if it's on public property, they have to get approval.
Well, but I mean, but how long does approval last for? You know, like if we put $10,000 into it and a year later, they changed our, after painted, like a mind's changed about what's going there. Then our investment lasted 1 year instead of, I don't know what the right number is, X years, you know.
I don't know what recourse we would have.
Yeah.
So our current structure last year changed to, we only pay once the project is done unless like special provisions are made. And then it's just, you know, basically an agreement on how it will be structured instead of it's been done and now here you get paid for it. That's kind of been our assurance that it happens.
Yeah.
But I don't know that, you know, we get into a situation where, like you said, it would remain for 5 years. Someone moved out, someone moved in, paint over it. Now who owes us, you know, the money back?
Yeah. I'm from water. Recipients of this grant, all of these ideas are very excellent. I recognize that none of these are getting started in January or February or March even. They're all summer projects. But I don't know if time would change our discussion on that.
Yeah.
If there's questions about the mural on public property too, the artist has to agree with the city that they will either maintain the mural. So if it starts deteriorating, they are responsible for going and repainting what's needed or anything, or painting over it. So it is kind of an agreement that it will stay and be maintained unless, you know, it's just painted over altogether. So it is a little bit, I guess, sense of longevity there. As long as they're maintaining it, I don't see that we're gonna care because we entered into agreement for it to be there. It's not defined in the agreement. So certainly, I mean, 20 years from now, different staff and everything, they could be like, well, we don't like this, we want something else, but, Right, and I wouldn't anticipate that happening, as long as the artist is maintaining it. If they're not, and we had to paint over it, we would end up,
It's going to be available to.
They- but that's what- yeah, they agree to it, or, they could be charged and stuff, so.
If they're not Mosaic, I mean,
If they're
Yeah.
dormant.
Show me.
this one here, $10,000 to paint inside a tunnel. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you walk around downtown and there's stuff that gets tagged all the time. I could just see that, that's my personal opinion. I think the Steve's tent that, I mean, obviously inside that building is rough looking and it has a lot of visibility, people driving down. So I think that would be good, my opinion. Ellie Phillips Library or Senior Center, okay, and then Ragley, man, the front of his building is pretty rough looking.
Yeah.
So if he could get some bigger windows in there and just make it look nicer, more visually appealing. I think 3 out of the 4 are good, but the $10,000 to paint inside the tunnel. My opinion.
Julie, I don't want to sound rude, but you only have about 10 minutes before you lose quorum. Just saying, no pressure.
If I was sitting here.
I know, just keep looking, like, I'll just say it out loud.
Yeah, I don't know that we have to approve the calendar. I usually just get feedback. So I was thinking that we finish this up and then we do the sponsorship requests.
Would you guys be, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering, like, the 4 beautification grants, we need to go one by one to approve?
Alright.
Unless anybody's looking to move.
We don't have a great process. No, I would say that if someone had kind of what they would like to see go forward, make a motion outlining that, and then we'll consider that motion.
I'll also note that you can make a motion to postpone it to your next meeting also, just based on what Crystal was saying, that's an option for you too.
Or allow the exec team to make the final decision based on your recommendation today.
Joe, I think my mind has been slightly changed today, with a couple of the grants in my own mind. My goal would be to move forward with Matt and Regular Man. And my goal would be to move forward with Steve's, would be the other one. And I would not look to move forward with the tunnel mural. And I don't think I'd be looking to move forward with the senior center.
That's for my.
With knowing that they have a
Move forward with those 2 and the other 2, if we want to discuss them at a future meeting, we could, but I guess in my mind, I'm like, those 2 fit. And I don't know why we need to pump that down.
We did also say in the grant, like summary, that we would keep it open until funds are expended. So if we have $20,000 budgeted, we spend 10,000 now, we could review the applications that we didn't move forward with and consider any new applications in the future.
And let's give us the ability to future ones that we want.
Yeah.
And then I'm also going to just say that, in the executive board, we had discussed the idea of only funding for the windows and not funding for the door.
That's already
He changed it.
been changed within this.
Why were you gonna say you could have the door too?
I was, I brought it up in the board meeting, in the executive, just saying, like, I think if you're going to do the windows, doing the door as well and having it all be cohesive, like, I think.
So he originally came in with a quote that was, I think he was asking for 7,500. The door price was like 2,800 or something, so he removed it. But I'm certain that he could put it back in for competitive if you want it. I kind of agree with you too, if you're gonna redo that masonry work, like it should just be a one finished product, and that's something that WDC recommends too, is like making sure your facade is.
Somebody else kicking in for the masonry work though?
Yeah, so
Because
his,
that's not included.
right, his landlord, is kind of a man, she's gonna cut the whole shape of that, yeah.
So yeah, that makes it even more.
I talked to Jake about it.
Jake's cutting a hole.
Well, he's not doing that work, he's actually gonna support, the contractor. So that, when I talked to him about it, they're gonna bring the contractor.
So I'm hearing that possibly you guys are leaning towards up to $7,500 based on the actual expense of the doors and windows for Raggedy Man, and $6,000 for
I would
Stephen.
move to approve a budget upwards of 7,500 for Matt Pavish and Reguly Man. And I would also move to approve the $6,000 for Steve's time. And I would,
Second.
And I would say specific for what you're doing with Matt, being it's outside of what his proposal
This
says.
proposal actually does say the door's still inside.
The original proposal, he just approved the dollar amount.
my motion would be to approve the 7,500 for Matt.
Original.
Yeah,
Original.
my motion would be to approve Matt and Reguly Man for his original proposal of 7,500 for the windows and door of his building. And I would also move to approve the $6,000 for Steve's time, while not approving the Elliott Phillips Senior Center solution and the $10,000 for the tunnel. That is-
Second. Any further discussion on that motion?
The original proposal by Matt for the 2,800 foot door, was that a full glass commercial door? Is that what you have proposed?
So,
Yes.
So
Yeah.
look further down, it says like 1,200 for a thermal door. Like it's a underneath. So yes, he would want a thermal door. I mean, who doesn't want a thermal door in Wisconsin?
But it's just like a full glass regular commercial door?
Yeah.
So that seems about right for
Yeah.
a door like that, so.
yeah.
Okay.
He had a range in his quotes from $280 up to $2,000. So,
Yeah, that's about going price for a commercial one.
Yeah.
Any other further discussion? Then all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that motion passes, and we are straight into the sponsorship request, including the sculpture tour. And we also have the Eau Claire Marathon here today. We have 7 minutes. So both applications are in your packet, assuming that you have had a chance to review them. Does anyone have questions for, let's take one at a time for the Eau Claire Marathon? And if you want like the 30-second, but we've been supporting, I would say at the executive committee, we're definitely in favor of this sponsorship request. We discussed briefly that the item that you requested for is not within our bid, but the Eau Claire Marathon Start is within our bid, and there's a lot.
Requests are the same as last year.
Yeah.
Right? I would make a motion.
For this one.
I would make a motion to approve.
Well, that one we should discuss more.
Okay, make a motion to approve it.
For $1,000.
and just so you know, Sonntag is where they pick up bids this year and the routes are changing next year. They,
We're picking up signs, take that bids on Saturday, but Sunday is still.
Any other further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Then the marathon sponsorship for $1,000 is approved, and for this, thank you, for this sculpture tour, just to give you guys a little reference, we budgeted $5,000 specifically for this item, and last year we paid $5,000 for this item. Julie requested in your packet a sponsorship of $7,500 for this year. And it is to help pay for the People's Choice Award. I feel like for the past, I think about 4 years, I've requested that we are involved in or possibly given the chance to advocate for that People's Choice sculpture ending up in our district because we've supported it for so many years. Any other additions, or Julie, anything you want to say to this one?
Yeah. The sculpture, the People's Choice sculpture for this year has been chosen. We're in the Cone of Silence here, so I'll tell you, it is the sculpture of the 2 dogs on the tricycle, which is a wonderful piece that's in front of the tattoo shop right now, and I would see that it's staying downtown. Definitely staying downtown. We are asking for $7,500 because the People's Choice is a purchase award. So we offer that, it's a $15,000 purchase award to attract the better artists. And a few years, in years past, both bid boards each gave 10,000.
Yeah.
And that gave us 5,000 in operating. That hasn't happened for a while, but if you each give us 7,500, it at least covers the cost of the purchase.
Does anyone
So,
have
no.
questions before we can consider? Otherwise, we'll have to award the money at our next meeting because we only have like a couple minutes to have a quorum and a motion.
Which tattoo shop is it sitting in front?
Ownership.
Oh, it is. Here you go.
It's
And
real
do you know
cute.
where it's getting placed?
I don't know, we haven't decided where that will find a permanent home.
I mean, I would like to see the density of sculptures in our bid increase if we're one of the largest sponsors and have been historically for a long time. That's kind of why our support has decreased.
And I can tell you, this year, we are decreasing the sculpture tour by 18 sculptures right now for lack of support. If we end up $5,000 short on People's Choice, we'll need to remove another 5 sculptures. None have been removed from the downtown plan at this point. We have to remove another 5. I'm not sure, where we'll take them from. But we go to the least trafficked areas first.
And we're trying to drive traffic, so we want density.
Right, and you're more heavily trafficked, so.
Yeah.
It's not an area that we want to take sculptures from. But
All right.
the reality is that's what we're ready.
We got 45 seconds.
Yep.
What do we say? Jason, you want to make a motion?
This is consistent with what we did last year.
It's more. It's more. 2,500 more.
We did 5 last year, I think.
Voters to do 10.
Did they get 7,500 support from South Barstow on this one?
Not yet, but I think they only have 5,000 in their budget for sponsorship, so I don't know that it will be the 7,500. They haven't decided. And Water Street isn't, but they're gonna help privately. And West Grand is supporting sculpture.
25 seconds.
Deadline.
Do you have a deadline
Do you-
for putting our name on People's Choice Award?
It affects, we're in the process right now of finalizing our contracts with the sculpture artists for next year. So the sooner we have an answer, the better.
We meet next in April.
Yeah, we would have to assume we'll be 5,000 short.
I think that if, we allocated 5,000 last year, it sounds like South Barstow is gonna be looking at that 5,000. I guess I would think we stay consistent last year in South Barstow where those.
So you can obviously motion for money, you can motion to postpone, or you can motion for the executive team to do it.
Which won't happen until April unless we call a special meeting.
Correct.
anyways.
I imagine you could,
Is anyone advocating for the $7,500 level?
I'd be willing to motion to approve last year.
Which 5,000?
Which is what we.
We budgeted 5 for so.
Was that who's second? So we can discuss. Muns and mans, any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So the motion passed for $5,000.
Motion to approve the calendar.
Thanks.
That was funny.
And maybe we'll work together for a little email conversation. You guys have the calendar in your packets, but seeing that starting at 7:30 a.m. causes door problems, and
That's already, a ticket's already entered. Whatever you guys want to do, but being people can't stay late, I'd keep that in mind too.
last year we did some at 8, some at 7:30. I mean, if we could still have people show up at 8 a.m., I think it might make things easier.
Yep. And if there's any feedback, just send it to us and we can grab it all and get with Julia to say, hey, here's some thoughts on it. Being we're working on putting the calendar together and
City
stuff.
Hall officially on 7:30.
Yep.
Right.
8 in the door. will be open.
Yeah.
But
There's something wrong with it, cause it would open for like 3 people to come through and then suddenly lock. So I think it was a bigger issue this morning than just not being
that
unlocked.
door was put there. No problem.
Yeah. Yeah, and elections moved their roll of tape, cause I went to get it to tape the thing open. And I was like, wait, or not
We'll take
elections,
that
engineering.
conversation, sorry, we'll take
Yeah.
the conversation to email. I just wanna, pick a meeting time that is most likely that we will get a quorum and get those dates out, so everybody has them on their calendar and we can plan accordingly. We'll just, for the people that have even more time, we'll just hear a couple updates. And, for those of you that are ready to go, thank you very much. Becky has some cool events coming up.
Yeah, the annual awards event is coming up March 6th, 7th, 6th, 6th. Thursday, March 6th at the Lismore. We're doing planning for it. Tickets are available right now. Early bird rates go through the 9th, so get your tickets while they're hot. It's like a $10 savings at least, and if not, grab a table of 6. We're also still looking for some sponsorships. We do have our platinum sponsor covered by Rooterware, but last year graciously, you donated towards purchasing flower bouquets that we auction off, not auction off, but give away at the midnight. Try to make it, it's gonna be fun. It's basically a fun twist on a normal awards event, and it's called the Ducky. So Matt will be our MC, and again, you just won't want to miss it. So try to come there.
I just want
Yeah. We just had our first mix and mingle of the year, Abby's there actually. It was great. We had about 50 people show up, and it was really just asking what business owners, downtown enthusiasts want to see us doing, working on, spending our money on. So we got some feedback about just direction of Decky and value of membership, but also got to network with a bunch of really creative folks and have an idea of some things that came from that. After awards events, we're partnering with Eau Claire Marathon to get out some cool happenings around the marathon. So I think Decky's going to try to amp up this Barstow Street Block Party this year. On Sunday, get people down. It's so much fun. We pray the weather's better. And we'll be reaching out to businesses about good perks to help with that. Amazing Eau Claire cleanup is coming up as well. Third weekend in April. Same kind of idea. Decky wants to partner, we'll be downtown, helping clean. But we want to be able to create kind of these discounts or promotions. Doesn't have to be a discount, from businesses to the people that come out downtown to clean, that come out for the marathon, come out for Jazz Fest. So we'll be reaching out to you guys, hopefully kind of, just ask you if there's something we can honor when we partner with these large scale events, that you would recognize. So those are really the only ones that are coming up. We're already planning the Fall Festival. We're starting a Fall Fest subcommittee. So if anybody's interested in serving on that, it doesn't have to be a Decky or bid director. It can be just about anybody. We're looking to get that started out in March. And same events as usual. We've been really, really busy working on kind of back end stuff, contracts, and figuring out how to sustain. We have a new committee, grants, fundraising, and sponsorships. That's kind of both for money in and money out. And we're doing that in preparation to kind of get ready for Main Street accreditation. Oh, that was the other thing. Main Street, WEDC is hosting their annual awards event, and this year it's in Menominee, so it's very close. It is March 13th, I think. I don't know, I have to look it up, but it's coming up soon. I'll send some information out. Dustin actually is the executive director over there of Maple Tainter, so we get to see him. Starts at 1 with tours of Maple Tainter. Then there's kind of a time period where you get out into downtown Menominee, visit some businesses, and then come back for the cocktail hour and awards. So it ends at 5. So if you guys can make it, that'd be great. Matt and I and members will be attending. Checks off the box on our list. We have to attend 3 events, but also it's in our backyard, so you may as well go support and learn more about it. I could talk forever, but you guys patient. So those are some of the exciting things that we're doing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me and thanks for everyone.
Thank you. Any updates from city staff?
just next week's council, they did go ahead and put another public meeting on regarding the parking
Thank
study.
you.
The parking study will be voted on, Tuesday. It's not voting to say, yes, all the recommendations we are going to do. It's just voting to say, yes, we accept this study as it was done and have no other requests with it. So then we'll start, having public meetings, meeting with the bids, starting to draft up what that might look like with parking going forward downtown. So, the goal is to have, something to council, I think, by April-ish, so that it can start being a part of the budget process. So if you missed last week, the previous public meeting to come talk about the, parking plan, you have another opportunity Monday, but there'll still be opportunities as whatever is gonna happen going forward, moves forward.
I'd say there's a lot of recommendations from, parking deserts, parking ramps, parking administrative structure recommendations, but the parking consultant recommended that basically all of like Dewey Street to past Madison Street is paid parking at $1 or 50 cents an hour for like, I can't remember if it was like 9 to 9, Monday through Saturday. So I spoke last week and basically said that I admire paid parking as a tool for parking management, but I don't think that parking management is needed for on-street parking in our district at this time. I hope that they start with a smaller geographical area to do paid parking, but I spoke as an individual, not a representative of this board, which would have taken a motion at this meeting, and it wasn't on our agenda. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yep. That's what I'm here for.
Anything else? Then we are adjourned.
Appreciate this.
Julie.
If you want to.
Oh, yeah.